area.
Aceptar todo lo que me decían mis oficiales.
At great personal risk, Hugo contacted Lillian's mother and told her where her daughter was. The information secured Lillian's release. Hugo exposed the torture to the media and fled the country in fear of his life.
Lo asume, lo dice, lo dijo en su momento, y también debe haber tenido sus costos.
He risked a lot to do that, because he's had to leave his country and become an exile.
Un exilio tampoco debe haber sido muy fácil para él y para su vida. Entonces, bueno, en ese
And I'm sure that hasn't been easy. So in that sense, I respect him.
Respetable.
It's 26 years since Hugo Garcia tortured anyone. Though in exile, he still works in a garage. But he lives with the stigma of his past.
Esto me ha marcado. Hay gente que dice, se refiere a mí como el torturador. Si lo hubiera hecho, ¿no es?
It would have been easier if I had killed them rather than tortured them. It's left me scarred. Even today, there are people who still call me the torturer.
In Argentina, the scars of torture are still raw. 22 years after the end of the military dictatorship, the mothers of the Plaza de Mayo parade the images of their lost loved ones. An estimated 30,000 individuals were tortured and killed or disappeared during that time.
La música dibuja prácticamente todo lo que...
Music draws anything an artist could paint.
One of the most notorious figures in Argentina today is former police officer Julio Simón. He's now in prison, awaiting trial on torture and kidnap charges.
Y las óperas prefiero los finales felices.
I like operas with a happy ending. The same with movies. I like happy endings and for good to triumph over evil. My life could be an opera, although it has a bad ending. They could write an opera of the story of my life.
Here he is 5 years ago, being recognized and assaulted in a Buenos Aires coffee shop.
Y los integrantes de Libertad por presos políticos de la Tablada están rompiendo en este momento.
Que salió a la luz porque quizás por ser uno de los asesinos más violentos.
He came into the spotlight because he was one of the most violent killers there. He was known as the Butcher. He was half crazy, mad. Even his colleagues thought that.
Con respecto a los mismos compañeros, ¿no?
My training was done on the streets because that's where the information was. My weapons were my ears, my eyes, and my mouth.
Los oídos, los ojos y la voz.
Ana Maria Cariaga has good cause to remember Julio Simón. In 1977, she was a 16-year-old student in Buenos Aires, 3 months pregnant. Her politics made her a target for the military regime.
I was walking towards a shop window when I saw 2 men running towards me, so I stopped to let them pass. But they grabbed me and dragged me into a car. It was like pressing the pause button when the scene stops. The only thing moving was me. People were just standing there doing nothing.
She was driven to one of the many buildings in Buenos Aires, taken over by the regime for interrogations.
I said to her, take the blindfold off. I don't talk to people wearing blindfolds.
He took our blindfolds off and wanted us to see what he looked like. It was a power trip. He was saying, "Look how powerful I am. Even though you could identify me, it makes no difference. Nothing will happen to me."
A mí nunca me va a pasar nada.
Solamente proceder a una tortura que podrían enseñar, no sé, en la Escuela de las Américas.
Instead of doing the things they learnt at the School of the Americas, he seemed to refine things. He would do other kinds of torture, which even his colleagues found repulsive.
He got me out of my cell, and I was obviously pregnant then. He tortured me with the electric picano, without tying me up. The picana is an Argentinian invention. It's used to brand cattle and looks like a pencil with an electric wire coming out of the back.
Sometimes information was unfortunately more important than ethics.
They said things like, "We're Nazis." And when they tortured you, they were listening to Hitler's speeches and would say stuff like, "Oh, how good this one is." The policemen were playing cards and laughing, or maybe playing ping pong. I was very worried that the physical torture might have hurt my baby.
I would be there with them for at least 1.5 days, 2 days, 3 days. I didn't go to sleep, and at some point, while they were dreaming, they would give me the information I wanted.
Every time when another guard who had tortured me was on duty, he'd kick me and shouted, "You fucking bitch, why didn't you tell me you were pregnant? Do you want me to open your legs and make you abort?" For me, it was a privilege to be pregnant, because it meant I wasn't alone. I don't know how I would have felt without her with me.
This is how I got sucked into this vortex. I got more involved every time. This is why they call me the torturer, killer, and all those other names.
Ana Maria was released after 4 months and fled Argentina. When her baby was born, she telephoned her mother back home to tell her the good news, but she was never to see her again.
On the 11th of December, I called to say Anita had been born. I was told my mother had been kidnapped 3 days earlier. I will always remember that I missed uniting the two most beautiful things in my life by just 3 days, and my mother never knew that Anita had been born and was okay. That was very sad, but she's almost 27 now, and she recently had a baby, so I'm a grandmother.
Tuvo hace poco un bebé, así que soy abuela. Y bueno, eso.
Ana Maria and Anita returned to Argentina after the military regime fell in 1983. Ana now works on an archaeological dig, excavating the building where she was tortured by Julio Simón. The site will be made into a museum, a reminder that in the long term, torture rarely sustains a regime.
I feel that I'm a very good Argentinian. Let's see, here in my cell. I don't have any pictures of naked girls or anything like that. I have 2 Argentinian flags on the walls. But I'm here, and I will die with a clear conscience.
But I haven't yet seen one guy that don't talk. I can take anybody.